10 years in business with all the ups and downs and, kind of getting back to some normalcy. What are some of the challenges that you have for yourself and your family? At the end of the year, do you have a surplus of funds and your CPA is telling you, oh, you got to go do this to shrink the amount of profit that you had?
We're basically in the midst of a government shutdown.
Yep.
I've actually survived several government shutdowns. Only one government shutdown severely affected my business. The government shutdown in the Trump.
So welcome. This is Wally Darling. I'm here with Dempsey, and we're going to talk about his practice, which is down in Texas. And I'm going to not put words in his mouth, but he's got 3 locations, and we're going to talk a little bit about his practice and himself, and get a better understanding of some of the challenges that maybe he has, and then this will be some good information for him and also people in his network. So first of all, thanks for taking some time, Dempsey, to meet with me today. And technology has made it really nice and easy. I'm up in Denver, Colorado, and you're down in Texas. Are you in Texas City, or are you in Houston, or where are you at today?
Right now, I'm in the Houston area right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I've got family that's down in San Antonio and up in Fort Hood, and I spend quite a bit of time in Texas, and I work in Texas in my practice.
Okay. Oh, great.
So that's, Texas, Arizona, and Colorado are my primary areas that I focus in. Okay.
Oh, multi-state. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, technology has made it possible for me to do that. I could not do it if I had to go see somebody in each one of those states.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about just open, format, but your role and a little bit about, describe, the nature of your business.
Okay. Well, once again, guys, my name is Dempsey Spears. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I am the owner and director of Transitional Life Counseling and Consultation. My primary services that I provide are mental health related services. I operate, as Mr. Darling stated, in Texas City, the Houston area, and also the Dallas metro area. So what we primarily do is we provide individual, family, and group therapy. We also provide case management services to the community, in all 3 locations. And so we pretty much do a wide range of government contracting, and we also contract with government entities and private entities to provide mental health and consulting related services.
Awesome. And I imagine that's a growth industry these days.
Yes, it is.
You don't have to turn on the TV too many times a day to find out that there's people that are, dealing with these types of issues around the country. So, so tell me a little bit about, so you're the owner, or is it just you, or is there other owners?
No, it's just me. I'm the sole owner of Transitional Life Counseling and Consultation.
Okay. And at your different locations, are there like key employees?
Yes, that each location has its own specific, although the services are offered in all 3 locations, but each location has kind of different services that make it unique. Uh, Texas City, which is a suburb outside of Houston, primarily focuses on intensive outpatient services, more like a day program format, in which we see about 30 to 40 clients a day. We also provide assessments for the Department of Family Protective Services and also Galveston County Probation. And we also, provide other, kind of anger management, parenting related programs. And we provide services for the local school districts in that area for Texas City. Actually, the largest amount of services that we provide are at that location. It's kind of our main hub where I first started my business. And then I kind of ventured out to Houston, and then in Dallas County. So the majority of the services and information that you would see on our website, which is www.transitionallifecounselingandconsultation.com, will designate the services that are provided for each location. um, as we could pivot to the Houston area is primarily case management related and outpatient services, particularly clients who have private pay and private insurance for the most part. In the past, we did provide services to several school districts in the city, and also foster care related services. But based on demand and some different operational issues, I chose to not focus so much on those other areas and focus more on case management and outpatient therapy. And lastly, for the last 10 years, and we left in during COVID for a year and a half, but in the Dallas area, we're primarily providing outpatient services. We also provide home-based services to clients in the Dallas area, particularly those that live in group home or other different facilities that we are contracted with to provide services on site for those that don't have the resources for their own transportation. And we also provide employment assistance programs, related services in the Dallas location.
Thanks for sharing that. So can you give me just a ballpark? I'm not going to give you a head count, but just kind of across all three of the locations, about how many employees do you have?
Okay. Um, the total amount of employees that I have right now is 10. I have 10 total employees. Um, I would say, um, of the 10, seven of those employees are in Texas City, because that's where the majority of our revenue is and services are offered. In the Houston area, we have one, and then in the Dallas area, we have two employees in the Dallas area.
Okay. And that's just up and running recently since COVID, it sounds like,
Yes,
Dallas. Okay.
is
And
rebuilding. Yeah, we were actually at one time, prior to COVID, we had a huge contract that we had with the Department of Family Protective Services, and also with several facilities that, unfortunately, due to COVID, we ended up losing those contracts. But before that, Dallas was actually providing more services than any location that I had. But once that contract ended due to COVID, and there was lack of the uncertainty of COVID, we ended up losing a lot of contracts, which actually forced me to have to leave Dallas for a year and a half. And so I'm actually in a rebuilding mode in Dallas at this point to try to get it back to where it was pre-COVID.
That's awesome. COVID was very disruptive, I think, to a lot of
Very.
small businesses, and not that you're necessarily categorized as small business, but you were impacted if for some reason you weren't considered essential or whatever. It was state to state to state. There was a lot of impact. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about now. What kind of industry trends are you seeing? Now and possibly going forward.
Okay. Well, what I can say that there have been several trends and several laws that have been in place that has greatly affected mental health. Some good and some I'm lukewarm, or I think maybe on the negative end. For number one, particularly as a licensed professional counselor, until January of 2024, licensed professional counselors and licensed marriage and family therapists were prohibited to be credentialed in Medicare to provide Medicare services independently. So that basically ended once that bill was actually passed. I think in the beginning or the middle of 2003, and it went into effect January 1st of 2024. So that opened the door for us to provide more services, and it also allowed me to hire more LPCs to provide services, particularly as it related to Medicare clients, because before that they were prohibited uh, to a certain extent, that they were not able to provide those particular services. Um, the other thing that has affected um, services as in the delivery of mental health services is the defunding of the Medicaid expansion plans. And as you may know, if you're familiar with that, the Medicaid expansion plans was basically funding that a lot of states received to allow more providers, um, not only more providers, but more people to qualify for Medicaid, so that particularly on the low income, working class and low income side, so they can have access to mental health, have access to healthcare related services. So, particularly Texas and other states, many of them either had a reduction in the amount of money that the state was given, or they refused to accept the money from the federal government. And so Texas kind of was affected by that, and there was a reduction in which millions of people that were once qualified for Medicaid were no longer qualified for Medicaid. So that definitely affected business across the board throughout the state of Texas. As it relates to my company, um, I would say I didn't see a substantial reduction, but there was a slight reduction in the type of clients that I was, as far as new clients coming in due to that law being in place.
So you mentioned LPC, so license. Um, what does the LPC stand
Yeah,
for?
licensed professional counselors.
Professional. Cross. So right now, in your three locations, how many LPCs do you basically have a relationship and
Okay.
either
Um,
employ or contract?
okay. Technically right now, I have um I have three other therapists that provide services for the company. I have one therapist that assists me in providing services in the Texas City area, and then I have one that provides services in Dallas and Houston, and also two in Dallas that they provide services in the Dallas area. Um, some of the services are face to face, and some of the services are virtual. Um, as it relates to the delivery of services, I also would like to add, in addition to changes, is that uh, post COVID, um, Medicare and Medicaid and other government agencies and particularly health insurance agencies, they relax the authorization and the ability for people to provide virtual or online related therapy services. Prior to COVID, there were more restrictions on providing those type of services. But once COVID came about, to kind of continuation of services, they pretty much made it a lot easier, in which um, online therapy or virtual related platforms are basically a natural part of anybody's practice to provide those services if they chose to.
And I found the same thing in my industry. COVID, people got very used to having Zoom calls and reaching out and having, some kind of financial um, consultation and not having to be face to face. No, I
Um,
was just going to say, I mean, technology has made it a lot easier.
yeah, it has, particularly
So, so
if you're in multiple cities or states. Yeah, that it makes it a lot more easier, and you have more opportunities with that.
So let me ask you. So we'll kind of switch here. I want to have you maybe help understand some of the challenges and things that kind of keep you as the owner of the business awake at night.
Okay, some of the challenges of the business itself.
For you as the owner, what kind of challenges or issues keep you awake at night?
Okay. Well, some of the challenges are basically making sure the accuracy of the delivery of services, that those services are delivered appropriately and the documentation is documented correctly. Also, the fact that there are tons of different um, requirements with Medicaid as far as authorizing services and the continuation of the continuation of implementing those services to a client. Um, there are certain things that must be done as it relates to treatment planning, assessing, discharging. Uh, some clients are eligible for certain amount of services, certain types of services. based on their diagnoses and their level of care, particularly as it relates to case management related services. And so the things that keep me somewhat, on my toes or somewhat, um, up at night, as you may say, is making sure that those things are done appropriately and consistently accurate, accurate on a daily basis. Also, with that is again due to the reduction of the Medicaid expansion plan or other different plans and requirements. You also have to look at that on a yearly basis or every year or two. There could be uh, fee decreases or increases or fee changes as it relates to what the reimbursement rates, and reductions in that can definitely affect the delivery of services and what a client would be able to qualify for as far as receiving psychotherapy, group therapy, family therapy, or case management, etc.
Yeah, I would imagine with the changing environment ongoing that you have to really be kind of ahead of it and be
Yes, you
able to
do.
react because, you don't want to necessarily go out there and start giving services and then find out, oh, those are no longer being reimbursed, or paid, per se.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about your key employees and how long you've had them?
Okay. Key employees. Unfortunately, last December, I had an employee that was with me for 10 years. He was a licensed professional counselor in Dallas. He was a long colleague of mine for years, and he worked for me diligently since 2015. And he was a key component to my Dallas location and building that practice up and providing consistent services. So he was a major loss. And so, currently speaking, my licensed professional counselors are at the pretty much the foundation of what we do are social workers. So we do have social workers also, that as far as them providing the professional related services. We also have a clinician that provides case management as it relates to that particular service. They're at the head of that. I pretty much oversee the services and then they implement those services. And also lastly, my office manager slash billing and coding specialist is in the middle of all of the different services, making sure that services are being provided, making sure services are billed accurately uh, and appropriately, and we're also tracking, the overall efficacy of the company through the billing and coding specialists for the company. That's throughout all three locations.
And the people that you talked about, I imagine the person that left after 10 years, that was probably a big pill to swallow.
Yes, it was.
Just
It was
speculating, you know.
so basically, yes, basically when he um retired, we suffered like a 70% reduction in services when he left because he basically brought in a lot of clients. He provided services to many of those clients, in which some of those clients he's seen for over 5 years. And once he, retired, because he was always in somewhat semi-retired, but not necessarily semi-retired. And then when he made the
Right.
decision to totally just, it's time to call it a day, those clients decided to seek services elsewhere. Most of them.
Right. I understand. So, in your office manager, how long's your office manager been with you?
Okay, she's been with me for now, I would say 8 months. She's been with me for 8 months. I had a previous office manager who also was with me for about 3.5 to 4 years, and she recently decided to do a career change in December of 2024. So that was a big loss. Also, she was with me for a long time. She was responsible, very organized individual. She kind of kept things together, particularly within our day clinic. She held a lot together as it related to direct care of clients that were attending our day program. She was pretty much in a lot of. She had her hands in a lot of different areas to kind of make things the day to day easier for me. And she was always looking for ways to make things easier for me so I can focus a lot more on the clinical aspects of things as opposed to the day-to-day operational things that I have to deal with. The current office person I have, she's settling into that and she's slowly getting to that level. But I do foresee her through time, she'll be at that same level in the next 3 to 6 months. But she was also the
Yeah.
previous office, she was a big part of what we were doing as far as keeping operations afloat.
You had some key employees that left, and it kind of had an impact
Yes.
on your business. Okay. And so, um, how long did or how difficult was it to replace those lost employees?
Excuse me, as it involves the office manager, it was difficult. It took me about maybe a little over a month, but in that search, it's the issue was that qualifications for what I needed at my clinic, and I went through a lot of, it was hard. Let's say for every 10 applicants, maybe one or two were really qualified. So I had to read a lot of the applications and resumes to really, I mean, and some of them had a lot of experience, but I was looking for a specificity as it involves you working in a mental health clinic around um, clients who are mentally ill. And also the fact that there were some supervisory roles that you would inherit by, as it involves the day program that we had, that you would be involved with in operational aspects of that you would be involved in that you probably wouldn't at other places. And so it was a bit difficult. I would say maybe 15% of the applicants who applied were qualified for what I was needing. And I interviewed about maybe a dozen people, and then I made my decision with my current office manager. So it took well over a month. Typically when I um do a job search I utilize Indeed. I can
Okay.
usually have someone hired within 2 weeks
Okay.
for
All
the
right.
most part. And once I put it in a campaign, you will get an influx of people, then you can pick and choose. And I'm usually I would, kind of designate about 8 to 15 people and then see who is available and things like that. Uh, Virtual or face to face interviews. And so yeah, it was a bit tedious for my office manager, which was expected. Um, the previous time that which I found the lady that was with me for years, that process was tedious also. It took me about 3.5 to almost a month, but to find the person I wanted. And again, it was about maybe 15 to 20% that were qualified for what I needed and wanted in my practice. And so um then I had a few people that were looking for more money or wanted other benefits that I wasn't able to give, and so that things kind of, in the negotiation stage of things didn't work out, and they decided to go elsewhere. So I kind of dealt with that. So that was some difficulty, and as it related to that. Now, as it involves my therapist, it took a while for me to. It took me about I want to say 90 days, 60 to 90 days to find a therapist in the Dallas area.
Right.
A
Okay.
good therapist that I knew would want to do this type of work, see this type of clientele. A lot of therapists don't like doing on-site or home-based therapy, which I do understand. Particularly, more younger therapists are more willing to do that, and so the therapist that I have that was willing to do it, she wasn't working in the field that long, so she was pretty green. Not necessarily so green to mental health, but as a therapist, she was only licensed for less than a year, and as far as working in the field, so she was more open to going on site to group homes and other different places that were available to us at that time. And so yeah, it took me about 60 to 90 days for my therapist.
Well, thanks for sharing that. So, you mentioned in that explanation that you had some qualified people that you weren't able to meet their benefits. So what type of benefits do your current employees have?
Okay. So at my company, as of I think 2020, we end up getting a step up in revenue as it, run analogous to programs that we were providing, and so we were at a point where I could afford to give multiple, benefits, and so those benefits entailed first I offered retirement. You had a 401k benefit that you could have. We also had vision and dental healthcare that you could have along with prescription. And then lastly, the last phase of that, we offered the medical insurance, which was the most expensive
Right.
of them. And so um at the time, um particularly we offered both. Initially we didn't, but we did offer both, with both in replacing both professionals. There was a couple of professionals that wanted, like, they wanted something like as it relates to time off and things like that. And it was also involving more pay. They were also looking for some other type of like as far as how much I would match their 401, which I basically was unable to match. I was only able to do a percentage, and so they were looking at it relative to the place that they were working at or where they were currently working, and they wanted something that was basically on that level or better. And at the time, I just was unable to provide that. So that happened with a few of the employees, and so they decided to go a different direction, and I also
Mhm.
was forced to do the same. So
I understand.
that basically what happened.
Is that something that, as you see yourself getting back, on a growth pattern, do you see something, where that's kind of a goal is to be able to offer those types of benefits again?
Well, what I actually, to be honest with you, I made a decision to reduce those benefits, and I can talk about that. So the
Yeah,
reason why I decided to make a reduction is because at the time, and to be honest, like right now, we're on the low end of employees. I'm actually on average typically have between 12 to 15 employees.
right,
I only have 10 now, so I'm between 8 to 10. So at the time, even though I had 12 to at the time when these employees, we were fully operate on all cylinders, we had about maybe 13 to 15 employees, and of those 13 to 15, only maybe about 5 or 6 sought the benefits. And
right,
so the unfortunately the staff that sought those benefits, many of them, they left in that time, and then it got to a point where there were only like 2 or 3 people, and then it actually got reduced to like 2 people were seeking their benefits, and I saw that it wasn't the most cost effective way for me to operate if I'm paying this amount of money offering these benefits, because that does cost, particularly if you're using a third party payer to facilitate these benefits. It costs. So I made a decision to take away the medical insurance first. And then at one point it was only one other person that was seeking the 401k. And then I still have the 401k, but I'm actually looking to actually um um terminate that also, because there
yeah,
just wasn't enough participation to substantiate me paying the amount of fees and things like that it required. So you have to look at what's cost effective. If you're going to offer benefits, um, um, it has to be where you want to attract quality people, which you can do. But you have to have participation. Lack of participation only drives up the cost. And
yeah,
so if that's the case, then I would rather not. I would rather just pay, particularly the professional licensed staff, more money that would attract them through contract than to have them as an employee and have to go through that.
yeah,
So and that's what I've resulted to doing. I'm willing to pay market to above rate for a good clinical psychotherapist.
Okay. And so I know you're kind of rebuilding, but do you have a target in mind or kind of where you are today in terms of your company revenue slash profitability?
Okay.
Um,
Right now, the revenues are actually the only location that is down is the rebuilding aspect of it. As far as the company as a whole, we're not necessarily rebuilding, but the Dallas location is rebuilding. That location is in a rebuilding mode. At one time, that location had 8 to 10 employees, and at my height, at the peak of my business, which was around 2019 to early 2020 before COVID, we had around maybe 15 to 18 employees, and we had a
okay.
very large um, um, payroll. The payroll was at an enormous rate, but we were also producing a lot revenue wise. And
Yeah.
so when COVID came about, it a lot of things dropped,
Oh
and the
yeah.
revenue dropped, clients dropped, staff dropped. So um, it forced me to look at would be the most efficient way. Even if I have more revenue, doesn't mean that you're making more profit. Sometimes more revenue means there's also a spike, an uncontrollable spike in liabilities, and so
Uh-huh.
I experienced that, and so I did make some um, reductions and decided to not do certain programs that were too costly to the company. And so, but when COVID came, then that was pretty much a force where you
Mm.
literally didn't have any clients, and then I was forced to close the business down from basically really we didn't see a client. I think the last client we saw was probably August of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and the lease ended in March of I think, yeah, that was August of 2020. And from August 2020 up until March of 2021, there were zero clients in the office. So when
Wow.
that lease ended in the end of March, I was forced to have to, close that location.
Yeah. So let's focus on you for a second, okay? 10 years in business, uh, with all the ups and downs and, kind of getting back to some normalcy. Um, what are you doing as an exit strategy, or what are some of the challenges that you have for yourself and your family, versus just, separating yourself from being an owner, okay? Do you have
Right.
like a like a do you at the end of the year, do you have a surplus of funds and your CPA is telling you, oh, you got to go do this to you know shrink the amount of profit that you had?
Right.
Or
Right.
yeah, so what are you doing for yourself?
Okay. Now, as it relates to myself, there are some challenges that do come about, particularly when there are issues with medical billing, as it
Uh-huh.
relates to for some reason they denied a host of claims, or let's just say right now, you'd be surprised how government shutdowns affect revenue.
Oh,
And,
I
and
know.
right now we're basically in the midst of a government shutdown. So
Yeah.
I've actually survived several government shutdowns. Only
Mm-hmm.
one government shutdown severely affected my business.
Uh-huh.
The government shutdown of in the Trump administration.
Uh-huh.
The first that
Yeah.
one that government shutdown delayed a lot of payments that I was receiving from government entities, state and
Yeah.
federal government entities, which slowed down. Like, say for instance, I would usually get paid anywhere between 7 to 10 days. With 7 to 10 days turned to 14 to 28 days.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, um, as it relates to me managing how I pay myself, you know, I would make sure my staff was taken care of, and then I would set aside um, money that I knew that I had to pay personal bills and different things, things that were mandatorily needing to be paid. And
Well,
then from that point, I would look at, like I had a set, um, what I basically would do, I would look at a percentage that I would take for myself, not necessarily a dollar amount.
right.
And so if I, um, let's say we were making 50,000 a month, then I would look at, wanting to take about, uh, 20%, 20 to 25% of that. If it was possible. That was my, um, target. Okay.
Uh-huh.
If I could, some months I couldn't. Some months I could take more if the surplus was there. There were issues as they're related to certain uh insurance companies that payments were suspended or on hold or they were denied for certain reasons. That there was several times where um I think the longest I've went without getting paid from a company was like 4 months.
Wow.
Then I had another situation where it grossly affected the business where we were at threat of closing doors, and that was actually um fall of 2024 from I want to say August up until October, August, September, October. We literally two of our main payer sources was wiped out. And
Wow.
yeah, and I was, trust me, I was, I was working 24 hours trying to on the phone every day. And so I had to get some legal help with that. And we finally was able to get that alleviated. And then we were able to recover those funds, fortunately. But it took a lot of time and resources and due diligence to get that money back. Because I was, at risk of literally just closing doors and this is it. I can't continue if this is continuing to happen. And so that was actually the biggest scare I've ever had. Fall of 2024. I had another situation that actually happened in the fall of 20 not 20 no of 2018. In 2018, um I think it was from July to maybe September. July and August. But in that time, I was working on another project that turned out to be one of my more profitable, contracts. So what ended up happening, what happened was that while I was waiting on that, the other contract was in its infancy stages. So I was able to survive because I had another opportunity that was able to take the place of what I was receiving from this particular entity. But that was a huge scare where we literally went months without getting paid from that one payer source, but that was my largest payer source at the time. And
Right.
so uh, the contract that I received was from a government agency. It actually paid more than what I was getting from that particular entity. So we were able to survive until that, and thrive once that was resolved. Once that was resolved, we that was one of my 2019 was one of my better years ever in my company. So we had a lot of success, financial success in that year. So so it all depends. Some, I have a percentage, a target percentage. Some months I can reach it, some months I don't.
Right. So in your 10 years of owning this and then prior professional career, did you ever develop any retirement accounts for yourself?
Actually I did. Now I'm going to be honest.
Well,
uh,
wait.
listen, I made some mistakes with that, and so
Okay.
um, I started my business by cashing out a retirement fund when we had the mortgage crisis in 2008. And the
Right.
reason why I cashed out my retirement because I hardly had anything in it. I lost about what 70% of it. So I kind of lost faith, and maybe that was bad, but
Yeah.
I lost faith. I told myself, and so my idea, what I had was that I'm in this business for the long haul. I don't want to ever sell it.
Right.
So if I don't ever sell it, and so I want to be in a part where I want to be hands off while I'm retired. My company is making money for me, And that's the
Okay.
mindset I had. And so I was looking at it like where I'm at today in 10, 20 years, 30 years, I'm going to be in a better place. Revenues are going to be up if I continue to be in the trajectory that I had. So I wouldn't need. And then at the point, the amount of revenue I was bringing in, I wasn't eligible for an IRA.
Right.
So um, I didn't consider, but I ended up getting a account that I under invested in, and I was more focused on growing the business and using that money to grow the business, and the
Yep.
business is going to take care of me. That's
Right.
the mindset that I kind of still have that mindset, but
Mhm.
I am um now more in line to look at that. I do need to get some type of account just as a backup. You
Yeah.
know, but I had the mindset of um you know, I don't intend to sell the business. Now, if I die, my kids, my family can make that decision. But as long as I'm living, whether I can do anything for the business or not, I will have people in place to operate this business and create profit and so on, and until the day I die. That's the
Right.
the mindset I had.
So one of the things I help business owners with, okay, is that first of all, I understood that you could use maybe some procedures or strategies that will help you incentivize key employees to stay with the company for a reasonable, you know, 10 plus years. Okay. Or like
Right.
in this guy's case, if he had been with you and you had been involved in one of these programs I'm talking about, where you could have given him a pension instead of him just retiring. And I don't know what his retirement looked like. It probably was Social Security and maybe some investments he might have had. But I'm talking about you as the owner owning all of these accounts, and you have some provisions for key employees as you grow this company, because it sounds like you'd have at least three key people directing each of those locations and maybe some other therapists.
Right.
But if you can keep those people for 10, 15, 20 years, that's going to be better for your company
Right.
grow. And what I'm saying is this is a strategy that helps you along the way. If first of all, they have a understanding that they have to be employed with you for a set amount of time, so you can kind of golden handcuff them into focusing instead of going on a whim um, to some other job. They can say, "Well, I don't want to walk away from this pension," because let's face it, most small companies can't provide a pension. Okay. Yeah, so I have ways to do that, but in the meantime, it's all in your
Right.
court.
That's
You
that's
get to
correct.
control the money until they get vested in their pension. And then if along the way, if one of them dies, you get this big windfall death benefit. Their family might get a little bit. You'll get the lion's share to replace that employee. And so a lot of small businesses find that is gives them the appearance of more of a Fortune 500 company. I can talk to you all day long about 401ks and the inefficiencies of 401ks. Right now, I would rather see you focus on something that's going to benefit you and your key employees and help you grow this thing and have an incentive to where you've got that. Um, and then, if you provide medical
Right.
insurance because of revenues, you can do that. But the 401k, I can tell you, would be the last thing that, as a financial advisor,
Right.
that I would tell you to worry about as a small business, especially if you can't match 5% or more. uh, you know, and
Okay.
there's other ways to use that money to
Right.
incentivize your clients. The 401k, I deal with clients all over the country, and they wake up at 60, they get ready to retire, and they end up, because the taxes going up, and they're going to go up, they end up having this ticking time bomb. So I don't know if that would be something that you would like to maybe explore kind of offline, you and I, and kind of show you how some of that works. Um, you know, I know you're growing and you're stabilizing revenue and stuff, and it's not something that you would start tomorrow. but we could work towards getting you and then your key employees identified and figuring out, okay, what does that look like? Um, so um, that's kind of what I was going to say
Okay.
from that standpoint, because you're focused, as you should be, on the day to day and the growth of your company. To do the other stuff, I mean, I wouldn't even expect you until I walk you down this path to even understand or see what, or be exposed to any of the stuff I'm talking about. But I can tell you that small businesses all over the country utilize this type of stuff to keep good, solid employees for a certain amount of time, give them something you're not going to get anywhere else. Because even if they went from, your company to a bigger, like a hospital type situation or whatever, you're not going to get a pension. They might get a 401k, but the 401k is not, I'm telling you, all that to be concerned about as a benefit.
Okay.
So,
Understandable.
do you have any questions of me at this time?
Not at the moment. That is something definitely to consider for future references. As far as
Yep.
providing benefits and things like that. You're a financial planner. So, are you more of a financial planner for businesses or personal and
Yeah.
business?
I do about 60/40.
Okay.
Okay. And so I do stuff for people that are, like I said, I've got a client in College Station right now that's 70, and she's got $2.5 million in her SEP. And she just realized she's going to have a big tax bill in 3 years.
Oh wow.
And so, yeah. And so that, if I'd known her 10 years ago, we'd have avoided all that. But now I got to fix that problem. But small businesses, I'm continuing to reach out and talk to them about that piece of it. Before I let you go, what would you project your gross income or gross revenue is going to be for 2025?
For the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 2025, we
Just ballpark
basically
it.
we basically gross about $1 million a year. We gross around somewhere around 80. Some months 100,000. It could be anywhere between 80 to 100. So I'm gonna say about 1.1 million. My income typically is around um maybe about 250.
Okay. Yeah. So good, solid, 10-year track record. You've been through some ups and downs. A lot of it had nothing to do with you. It was just stuff out of your control.
Right. Yeah.
But as you grow, you've got 3 locations. I don't know if you ever think about more locations, but if we just kind of walk before we, run, uh,
Right.
get this thing up to, like you said, you got key employees running each of those locations, key providers in the field, and they've got something to look forward to, and then you've got a company that's running itself, and you get to reap the benefit of it. So,
Right. Right. Right.
uh, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now, Dempsey?
I'm 47. I will be 48 in about 20 about 19 in actually 18 days. I'll be 48 this month on the 21st.
Yeah, and this is a great time for you to do that, because the stuff that I'm going to show you is going to be a whole lot better starting sooner than later.
Right.
And the sad thing is, I run into business owners that haven't done any of this stuff, and they're like a year from wanting to sell their business or retire or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, I
I
was
don't know.
also looking at potentially selling too when I want to retire, but I
Yeah,
just I just felt like I never had any intentions of selling. Like, I can keep the business running. It could be a legacy, something that my kids can have. Look, this business is
well,
making money. If you get the right people, it can continue, and this is a cash cow for you. That's
yeah.
how I was looking at it.
So if I want to say, I think we got your email address correct.
Right.
So what I'll do is, my name's Wally Darling, and so from my company, I'll send you an email,
Okay.
and we'll kind of offline talk about that piece of it. And then about a week from now, we'll have the actual edited, together podcast,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to, start thinking about people that you would want to share that with
Okay.
from your standpoint. Okay.
Okay.
Because that's good for your business. It's good for, maybe some of your contemporaries that are out there. But this is a good way for you to get more word out about
Okay.
what it is that your business is doing.
Sure.
Okay.
No problem.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time
All
today,
righty.
and we'll talk soon.
All right. You have a great day, sir.
Thank
All
you.
right.